Have you ever wondered about the current state of India's semiconductor industry? Let's dive in. As the world becomes increasingly digital, semiconductors are more important than ever. They're the brains behind our smartphones, computers, and countless other devices. And India, with its growing tech sector, has been working hard to make its mark on this high-tech industry. Central to this effort is the Semiconductor Mission's Design-Linked Incentive, or DLI, scheme. It's an initiative aimed at supporting startups in the semiconductor sector. The goal? To strengthen India's position in the global semiconductor industry and make it a hub for these crucial components. But getting there is no small task. So far, the DLI scheme has approved only 7 startups. Yes, you heard it right, just 7. This indicates a need for reassessment and potential revamping of the scheme. Why, you ask? Well, the scheme faces some significant challenges. For starters, there are restrictive ownership conditions. These make it hard for many potential startups to get the support they need. High costs are another obstacle. The semiconductor industry is notoriously expensive to break into, and the costs can be prohibitive for many startups. And then there are the limited incentives. While the DLI scheme does offer support, it might not be enough to attract the kind of innovation and investment needed to really boost India's semiconductor industry. The recent global semiconductor chip shortage has highlighted these issues. It's exposed weaknesses in the supply chain and emphasized the urgency of enhancing domestic manufacturing capacity. India has a golden opportunity to become a significant player in this sector, but it needs to address these challenges head-on. Despite its potential, the DLI scheme seems to be falling short of its objectives. Could a revamp be the solution? With only 7 startups approved under the DLI scheme, there is a clear call for a reassessment of the system. This statement sets the stage for our discussion about the need for a revamp in India's semiconductor design scheme. The recent semiconductor chip shortage has been a wake-up call for many industries worldwide. It's been a glaring reminder that the supply chain's strength is heavily reliant on the semiconductor industry. This shortage has not just affected the tech industry, but also areas such as automotive, healthcare, and even home appliances. It's clear that the semiconductor industry is the backbone of our increasingly digital world. In India, this shortage has exposed vulnerabilities in the supply chain, emphasizing the urgency of enhancing domestic manufacturing capacity. We're now in a situation where the need for semiconductors is growing rapidly, but the capacity to meet that demand is lagging behind. This is a gap that needs to be filled, and quickly. But it's not just about manufacturing more chips. The focus should also shift towards cultivating semiconductor design capabilities. Why, you ask? Because design is where innovation happens. It's where the next generation of semiconductors will be born, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in technology. And let's not forget, a strong design sector can attract more investment, create jobs, and boost the economy. It's a win-win situation. However, the current DLI scheme faces challenges such as restrictive ownership conditions, high costs, and limited incentives. These issues need to be addressed in order for the sector to truly thrive. So, yes, a revamp is needed. A reassessment of the system is necessary to ensure that the semiconductor industry in India can meet the demands of the future. The question now is, what should this revamp look like? To strengthen India's position in the semiconductor industry, several policy reforms have been suggested. Let's dive into these potential changes, which promise to reshape the landscape of the country's tech sector. First on the list is the proposal to delink ownership from development in the semiconductor field. This means that the focus would shift from who owns the technology to who can effectively use and develop it. By doing so, the door would be opened for a wider spectrum of players, including startups and smaller firms, to enter the scene and contribute their innovative ideas without the burden of ownership restrictions. Next, there's the recommendation for enhanced financial support. The current state of affairs reveals that the costs associated with semiconductor production can be prohibitive, especially for startups. By ramping up financial backing, the government could lower these barriers to entry, encouraging a greater number of initiatives and fostering a more competitive environment. Lastly, a rethink of the role of the nodal agency is also on the table. The nodal agency, or the body responsible for overseeing and coordinating the sector, could be empowered to take on a more proactive role in the industry. This could involve facilitating collaboration between different entities, streamlining processes, and even driving research and development efforts. These proposed reforms are not just minor tweaks, but potential game changers. They represent a shift in thinking, a move away from rigid structures and towards a more flexible, inclusive, and dynamic approach. By implementing these changes, India could become a hub of semiconductor innovation, attracting investment and talent from around the globe. With a recalibrated policy guided by a capable institution, India could establish a strong foothold in the high-tech semiconductor sector. So, what could be the potential impact of these changes on India's semiconductor industry? Let's dive right in, shall we? The proposed reforms to the design-linked incentive scheme could be a game changer for India's semiconductor industry. By delinking ownership from development and providing enhanced financial support, the revamped DLI scheme could spur innovation and growth among startups in the semiconductor sector. India's ambition to become a global semiconductor hub is no secret. With the country's competitive cost structures, labor availability, and industry capabilities, India is well positioned to become a significant player in the global semiconductor market. The recent semiconductor chip shortage has emphasized the importance of having a robust domestic manufacturing capacity. By focusing on cultivating semiconductor design capabilities, India could potentially reduce its dependence on foreign suppliers, thereby strengthening its supply chain. Geopolitical factors, too, could play a role in shaping the future of India's semiconductor industry. As companies look to diversify their operations amidst supply chain disruptions in other parts of the world, India's stable political environment and strategic location could make it an attractive destination for foreign direct investment. Major companies like Apple and chipmakers have already started investing in India, and the revised DLI scheme could further incentivize such investments. But it's not just about attracting foreign investment. By fostering a robust domestic semiconductor industry, India could also create jobs, boost its export earnings, and foster innovation. The ripple effects of a strong semiconductor industry could be far-reaching, potentially impacting sectors ranging from electronics to automotive to defense. Moreover, the growth of the semiconductor industry could also spur technological advancements in other sectors. For instance, the adoption of artificial intelligence in India could be accelerated, especially with the potential for smartphone adoption among the hundreds of millions of people who currently don't have one. Revamping the DLI scheme could be a significant step towards achieving India's goal of becoming a global semiconductor hub. Only time will tell if these changes will bear the desired fruit.